Hey YouTube, it's Marida and welcome to another edition of the Nurse Lounge. In this edition, we're not talking nursing. We're actually going to get back into our series of my narcissistic marriage, my road to recovery. And today's topic is his path of destruction, losing everything. So if you want to see or hear, shall I say, what I'm talking about, stay tuned. My name is Dr. Marida P. I'm a registered nurse. However, today we're not talking about nursing. We're actually talking about my narcissistic marriage, my road to recovery, and I've already talked about the title, and we're going to go ahead and just jump right on in. But before I do, many of you are wondering, where have I been when it comes to these videos? I have been busy with school, with work, or not with school, my school, but in terms of my work and things like that. So I haven't really had time to make these videos. I've been putting out nursing content and the like. But I am back, and we're actually going to now talk about or come back to this series this summer of my narcissistic marriage, my road to recovery, and basically how things are going. And I will be talking about, issues that we had during the marriage, which I'm still legally married as we speak, but during the active phase of the marriage, and then how I am doing since it's been a year since he's been out the house. So let's go ahead and stick on topic. And the topic for this one is his path of destruction, losing everything. So let's just take this back to how he was. Okay, so he was someone who just could not do what he was supposed to do as a father, as a husband. He was irresponsible, which we talked about in other videos, how irresponsible they are typically. He could not keep jobs. People would always say, I talked about in a video about the feminine and masculine energy exchange. And because of the exchange, meaning that he over time adopted or had or whatever, the feminine energy, where he needed to be protected and cared for. And I, because of the fact that he could not do anything that a man does in terms of protect and provide, I exhibited more of the masculine energy. And as a result of that, people will say, well, you are emasculating him because that's the reason why he's not doing this. So it became my fault as to why he was the way he was. Well, he's a narcissist. So when people are a narcissist, of course, they always play the victim anyway. And so as time go on, I'm up here buying into what people are saying, that, you're emasculating him. And why don't you just give him some responsibilities to do? Well, the truth of the matter is, the more responsibilities he had, the worse off he was. And he would sabotage everything, causes us to lose things. So a prime example, I would say, okay, the light bill is due on this day. Here's the money. Go pay the light bill, type of thing. Well, next thing I know, it's been 2 months and the lights are cut off, type of thing. And what he would go do is he would pay with a check. Now, I gave him cash, mind you. I gave him cash. He paid with a check. Go to the actual light place and pay with a check. And then turn around by the time the check had cleared. He kept the cash evidently, and it would bounce. And that's how I did not know that our lights were not covered. And as a result, it ended up that after about 2 months, they'll go ahead and cut your lights off. And this was happening. And it got to the point where I'm like, whatever happened to the money? And he could never explain what happened to the money. And that's a problem to me. So he would do that time after time. And so, okay, you know what? It got to the point where I had to take back over the bills and pay those bills myself, because I had to make sure that they got paid. Because he could not guarantee things would get paid, because we take the money and do something else with it. Now, with that being said, another time that he would sabotage things was a time period in which we had to kind of regroup, partially because of him. And at the time I had a mother, my mother was needing total care. Before she passed away, she needed total care. So I ended up moving in with her for about 3 years. So we had to put our stuff in storage. And he stayed in one city and I stayed in another city, which was probably about an hour and 15 minutes apart. Okay. And it had to be that way because his jobs were in the other city and my jobs were happened to be in the city that my mother lived in. I just commuted all the time. But now that I was living in the same city with her, I had the kids with me. I didn't really have to commute as far. However, for us, we did not want to take our kids out of the school system that they were in. So we would like meet halfway on the interstate, like at a, at a gas station and meet halfway in the mornings. And he would take the kids and take them on to school in the county that we actually went to school in, or they went to school in. And then we would, in the afternoon, either I'd go get them all the way or we meet in the afternoon or whatever we did. But we did that for 3 years. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I don't even know how I did it, but we did it. Well, regarding our stuff in storage. So every month, as you know, when you have a storage bill, you have to pay your monthly storage fees. And if you don't pay them, guess what they'll do? They'll auction your stuff off. So I was letting him take care of it because he was actually in the same town as where our stuff was. And he would go and pay the bill. Well, he was doing that for a while. And then next thing I know, I get a letter sent to my mother's address because we were getting our mail forwarded to my P.O. box. And I had a P.O. box in the city that I was originally living in. So we get mail forwarded, or actually was sent to me at my mother's house. And I'm like, it said that I owed over $1,000 and something. I'm like, how did I owe $1,000 when I had been, paying every month? We were paying about 100 and something because we had 2 storage units, 100 and something dollars per month for climate controlled storage units because I had 4 children's worth of stuff in their bedroom suits and things like that in their toys, clothes. I had all my possessions, pictures. I had everything you could think of that you put in storage, you put in there. So your pictures, your personal things. I had keepsakes from every baby. So I had every baby's blanket in there, every baby's pictures, cord clamps, their bracelets from when they were for babies, all the keepsakes that you have for your baby. And then of course, every picture that we had of them growing up was that was on the wall was definitely in the storage as well. And what ended up happening was, fast forward from this long story, because it is a 3-year process that this happened over. By the time I got ready to move, my mom had passed away in 2016. And I got ready to move back to my city in 2017 because I was going to start school that year. And what ended up happening was when I go to get my stuff, I found out that they had already auctioned everything off because of the fact that he continued not to pay the bill. And he had rerouted the address and said, this is our new address now, to his parents' house. And so I was never getting any of the bills. I was not getting anything. He just told me he was taking care of it. Now, of course, call me naive because, for believing him that he was taking care of it when he had sabotaged everything else. Yes, I know. But please understand that I was actually dealing with and taking care of a dying mother. I was the one who was the care provider, one of the main care providers for my dying mother. So my mind was on 4 children. I had a child that was in preschool. I had a child that was in elementary school, a child that was in middle school, and my oldest was in high school at the time. So we had 4 children going to 4 different schools in a totally different city because I'm trying to keep them in the same school that they were in, so their lives didn't get totally disrupted, and taking care of a dying parent, and with very little help otherwise. And functioning as a single parent, because while we were still doing that, every child still went to their extracurricular activities. They still did dance, they still did soccer, they still did basketball, whatever they were doing, we kept them in those sports, trying to have their life as normal as possible. So no, I was not thinking clearly at the time. So before you Karens and Toms decide to come in the comments and say, well, I would have never, don't even try it. Because when you're under such situations like that and you're stressed, you do not think properly. And when you have to be the mom and the father and trying to run all the bills and trying to make sure your bills are paid and things like that, then something has to give. And when I'm taking care of a dying mom, then that's kind of what had to give at that point in time. So no, I thought he was actually taking care of it because guess what? His stuff was in there too. It wasn't just ours. And no, he was not. So we lost everything. And so when I finally found that out and was devastated by it, not only because of the fact that I just lost some stuff and I didn't have the ability to move with new stuff, with my old stuff, I had to, when I moved on my own, or not on my own, when we moved back up to the city that I was originally living in 2017, we had to purchase all new stuff. All new stuff. Everything had to be brand new. Now that may sound great, but that's not great when you were trying to start off and you're trying to go to school. And that's when I had started my doctoral program. So I was not happy about the fact that I had to buy new stuff. So I slept on the floor for the first year. When we first moved to this house, I slept on the floor. Why? Because I need to make sure my kids had beds, and I need to make sure they had a place to eat. So they had to have 2 bedrooms, full of furniture, brand new furniture, and a kitchen stuff for them to sit and eat. Because I had to pay for everything, and a washer and dryer. I wanted to make sure I had a washer and dryer because I was not about to go do the laundromat life. I didn't have time to do all that with all we had going on. So I bought that, and then I was starting school, so I bought a new computer and a new desk and things like that. I'm like, I don't care about where I sleep at, long as we have a roof over our heads. And he didn't care either. He didn't care. He was okay with sleeping on the floor. That's the kind of husband that I had that was non-supportive, who did not make sure that we had the things that we needed. And like I said, he sabotaged everything. Those 2 scenarios right there, even to when he moved at the end of in May of 2020 or Aprilish of 2020, he would go take out payday loans. We had a payday loan situation, okay, and this is telling a lot, but we had a payday loan situation, and it took us 3 years to get out of. This is way back, okay? It took us 3 years to get out of. We paid all the debts off. So if you've ever been in payday loan situations and you know that revolving door and how that works, that's what we went through. We paid it off finally. We finally paid it off. And he just went back just this past May of 2020, and guess what he did? He opened up even more payday loans, and he had it run through our joint account, knowing that he had no money coming into that account because he took his pay and moved it to another account, a private account. And so when my money hit the account, it paid his loans. That happened one time, and after that, then he went back and took the loan out again. I contacted them people. I said, listen here, we are not going to do this again. And I explained my situation. And then they're now going after him regarding that money because my name wasn't on that payday loan this time. So that's how I got out of it this last time. But he is still trying to sabotage everything. And so that's the life of living with someone who is financially irresponsible. And for those who come and say, well, that just sounds like he's irresponsible, doesn't sound like he's a narcissist. Please look up what narcissist NPD people do. People who are financially responsible in themselves are not narcissists, and narcissists are themselves are not financially responsible. However, he happened to be both. And they do things like that. They purposely, it's called financial abuse. He would financially abuse us, take money out the accounts and things like that just because he could, knowing we had to pay bills and knowing I would have to come back and figure out a way to pay all these bills again, all over again. He would do that. That's the kind of abuse that he would do. That's financial abuse. When they do that, that's financial abuse. So that is part of domestic violence because they're doing that on purpose. They're doing that to hurt you on purpose because they know that you have to have them in order to work. And once you realize and catch on to what they're doing, then you will, hey, let me move on from this situation. And of course I have. Now, I'm going to do another video on what has transpired since he has left the house. It's been over a year now. I'm going to do another video on that, so stay tuned for that video. If you happen to be someone who's going through a narcissistic marriage or relationship, definitely watch more of these videos because you may see some similarities between my life and what's going on in your life. And I want to go ahead and tell you, you can get out of the situation. It does take time. It does take an exit strategy, which I have a video on that. And it takes you being disciplined and knowing what's going on in your life to understand that he or she will not change. And so if you know they won't change and you learn that about them, you have to figure out a way to be able to make it on your own. And so with that being said, definitely comment below anything that you may be going through, because I have definitely and still going through things only because of the fact that I'm still legally married to this person. But definitely do that. And follow me on IG if you so choose. I'm also on TikTok, but mainly for nursing content and things like that. So if you happen to like nursing, go follow me on those 2 pages. If not, then that's perfectly fine. If you like this content, definitely dump these videos up. And I'm only doing these videos not to make any kind of money because I don't make anything from it. It is to basically bring awareness that people go through things that they are so silent about because, for one, they're embarrassed. Number 2, they're embarrassed. And number 3, they're embarrassed. And you look back on everything, you're kind of like, dang, how did somebody who has less education than I do manipulate me to the point of being involved with them to this point? Well, I want to tell you, it's not about the fact that you have education and they don't. It's because of the fact that we have a heart. It's because of the fact that we believe in people. We believe in love. We believe that people are going to do better and treat us good, and they simply do not. It has nothing to do with how educated you are. Keep in mind, even therapists and physicians get bamboozled, and they are people who know the game better than we do. Lay people do. and they get hoodwinked and bamboozled and manipulated just as well. So don't think education means anything when it comes to you going through this. If there are nothing else that you all want to talk about, definitely comment that below. But until the next time, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.